A lot of players, Bob Diaco, defensive assistants, talking after today's practice here at the Hawks Championship Center. Tommy Rezac and Cole Stukenholtz here with you for 1400 KLIN. Cole, you had a chance to talk to Bob Diaco. We heard from Chris Jones for the first time, I think, since the bowl game, if not later than that. So Chris Jones talking for the first time this year. We'll get to that. But first, Cole, a lot of questions about the defense after Wisconsin runs for over 350 yards last week. Bob Diaco obviously doesn't set well with him, but at the same time, he was kind of proud of what the defense did, especially in that first half.
He was, and he pointed out correctly that Wisconsin's offense had only scored a field goal up until that big breaker, right the 75-yard run right after Nebraska got the 80-yard touchdown to Stanley Morgan. So, and going through that play, he just wanted to basically make the point that Nebraska didn't get blown up and Wisconsin didn't overpower anybody on that play. It was just Nebraska not being in the right place, and said it was not what Wisconsin did on that play. It was what Nebraska did wrong, so he made a pretty impassioned defense of that, and then even into the third and fourth quarters, he really said, at the point where Wisconsin started running every single play. That was where you already were down by one score, and Wisconsin had the ability to do that. And he just said, we can't put ourselves in the position to allow Wisconsin to do what they do, which is, they want to run the ball as often as they can and close the game out. And that's what they were able to do, obviously. But he basically laid out the fact that a lot of what Nebraska had ailed them was correctable and was, a lot of it was just they weren't in the right place and they didn't fit in the right gap. So something to look forward to and see if that can get corrected as far as where Nebraska players need to be on Saturday against Ohio State.
Yeah, that's all really interesting stuff, by the way. Full audio, Coach Diaco and all the players on our podcast page at KLIN.com, which leads us to Chris Jones talking for 11 minutes. Really good stuff. I had the privilege of hearing everything that he had to say, and obviously just overjoyed. I mean, it does you good just as a person to see how happy he is to be back, and as good of a guy he is now, patient he was. The diagnosis wasn't good. We weren't expecting him to be back for at least another month, if at all. The talk of redshirt was on the table. So the fact that he's back out, I mean, he's just thrilled. Him and Josh Kalu back out. I mean, he's happy. Obviously, he played a lot in that Ohio State game. JT Barrett, if you'll remember, had a near flawless game. JT was very good against the Huskers last year, and he's looking forward to the opportunity to getting a chance to take it to those guys this year. And about what you'd expect. He talked about the moment he found out. He talked to his mom a lot. He's a man of faith. Says he prayed to God a lot. Thanks God for this opportunity. So yeah, he's very at peace with it. And then he was asked, you're a leader on this team. You're kind of a, now that you're back, you're kind of a spokesman for this team. How do you go about fixing this thing? And he says, it's not easy. It's not easy to play. It's like if he actually had a tweet earlier today. I noticed he said if this game were easy, then everyone would be playing it. Something similar to that. So he's like, it's hard to keep a winning record. With the outside noise and everything that goes into it, the high pressure, the high stakes. He said it's hard. Now, I don't know if that appeases the fans or not, but I mean, I believe him. I didn't play football at this level, so I would believe that. So he's feeling good. He expects to start, so that he feels good about that. Talked about Markel Dismuke and his relationship with DiCaprio Boodle, their roommates. So that's pretty cool to have that camaraderie with the redshirt freshman.
Yeah, and the Chris Jones thing, having him be able to speak in front of the media is big. And Bob Diaco spoke about his role in the Wisconsin game and said literally everything that Chris Jones did happened by design. They planned on getting him in, a little bit here and there, and then playing him a little bit more later on, and they hope to play him, for a lot more this week as he, gets ready for his second game. He's definitely behind the curve in terms of being football ready, but there's obviously a lot of experience and a lot of raw talent and ability there, and it will certainly be needed against the Buckeyes on Saturday.
Sure. A couple of injury-related notes. Trey Bryant back on the field today in full pads. Aaron Williams did not practice today, kind of a precautionary situation. Soft tissue in his neck, not quite as serious as Stanley Morgan's was against, what team was that? He had that soft tissue in one of the losses.
Rutgers. Or Northern Illinois, one of the two.
Yeah, correct. So it's not as serious as that. Aaron Williams just out of pads. We talked to him. He's feeling good. He's upbeat. Trey Bryant back, like I said. DeMornay Pearsonell still in a no-contact jersey. Other than that, pretty business as usual. We'll find out more on Thursday when Mike Riley speaks to us. We heard from Divine Zigbo as well. He's happy to have Trey Bryant, Mikhail Wilbon back on the practice field. Feels like the old crew is back, as how he put it. So Huskers healing up a little bit, and they're going to need it going up against number 8 Ohio State. Obviously, they put last year's game behind them. They've been asked a lot about that 62-3 game, and they'd say much of what you'd expect, trying to forget about it. This year's this year, last year's last year, and move on. And that's all you can do. It's up to the leaders to kind of step up and make a play in this game. It's going to be interesting, and the players seem dialed in. The energy seems good, and they know what they're up against this coming Saturday. That's going to do it for this practice recap. You can view this full recap on YouTube.com and on our Facebook page, facebook.com/1400KLIN. No practice access tomorrow. The Huskers will be here. The media will next have access Thursday. We'll hear from head coach Mike Riley to update all of the injuries before the big showdown with Ohio State this coming Saturday at 6:30, and you hear the whole game right here on KLIN. But for now, for Cole Stukenholtz, I'm Tommy Rezac saying so long. You can read much more on today's practice on KLIN.com under our Husker News tab, and also on our homepage, all of the Husker News there 24 hours a day on Lincoln's home of the Huskers.